I found myself in situations, even going on the show, The Traitors, I think being in the army helped me think before I speak, which I think helped me progress in The Traitors as well, definitely. Did that even make sense? Yeah, anything's possible. Yeah, so I knew the day I applied to go on The Traitors, I knew that I was going to hide my job and that was going to be my my selling point to try and get on the show. And I think Harry winning season 2 played a massive part of that because he was a traitor and he was also still serving in the army. And I didn't want people to put the 2 and 2 together and think if I was open and honest about being in the army that they would assume that I was a traitor. So yeah, I just wanted to go below the radar a little. And I was a faithful, sadly at the time. I compared a lot because when I filmed The Traitors, I was still in the army, and my whole life I've been meeting new people. When you deploy with people in the army, you become friends really quickly. Like within days, you're best friends. And that's exactly what happened on The Traitors. We got to know each other really quickly, and you know, all of a sudden each other is all we had, kind of like being deployed in the army. So yeah, it was hard to separate, because in the army you put your trust into people, always, you have to. So it was hard for me not to do that on the show, definitely. I think the army taught me to adapt to any situation quickly, and I think I found myself in situations, even going on the show, The Traitors, I think you adapt really quickly. I adapted really quickly to being in those situations, and I think being in the army helped me think before I speak, which I think helped me progress in The Traitors as well, definitely. I feel like when I was 15, all my friends knew the road that they wanted to go down. They knew what they wanted to study in college, and I was never 100% sure. And at that time, my brother was in the army, he was in the Guards, and I just seen how proud my mum was of him, and I wanted that for myself as well. So I told my mum I wanted to join the army, and yeah, and I joined at 16. I think joining the army at a young age, it's difficult. You go straight, especially if you go straight from school into the army, you know, you don't really have any life lessons. So you grow up in the army. For me, I traveled the world. I went on some really fun deployments. I went to Cyprus, I went to Kenya, to Canada. Like, these things were really fun. And I think it helped me grow up really quickly, and I learned a lot about myself, and I feel like that's the way I am today because of the army, because I grew up so quickly. So the army changed my life in a lot of ways. I met my partner whilst I was in the army. We started going through the IVF process whilst I was in the army, and I just feel like it shaped my life in a way now that I'm really happy about, and I'm really proud of myself as a person now from growing so well in the army. If you have the opportunity whenever you like to do any courses which are going to help you throughout your whole life, even when you leave the army, you can pretty much do any course that you can imagine. And especially when you go through resettlement, whatever job you think you might want to do in Civvy Street, the Education Centre can help and guide you on what courses to get on, paid for by the army as well. I have so many highlights from being in the army, so many. I was lucky enough to play a lot of sport. I don't have a sporting background, but the army pushed me in the direction to play a lot of sport and go out of my comfort zone, which I did. I somehow spent 6 months away Nordic skiing, which I was very terrible at the beginning, but I actually got quite good at it, to be honest. My first deployment was actually Canada when I was only 19, and for a 19-year-old to spend almost a year in Canada is just unreal. So I decided to leave the army whilst I was on maternity leave because I fell pregnant with twins during my IVF process, which I'm very, very grateful for. And My children were born really early, so they had a lot of medical needs. Even when they were discharged from hospital, we have, even still now, there's a lot of medical needs that they need, a lot of appointments to attend to. So staying in the army for me wasn't really an option, because I didn't really want to change their hospitals, you know, change their care. I wanted the people that knew them, that helped save their lives, to care for them for the foreseeable. So yeah, it wasn't really an option for me to stay in the army. I do believe that if I didn't have children, I would still be in the army now, 100%. Yeah, I mean, as soon as I started my IVF process, I let my whole chain of command know, just to be aware, you know, you're away for a lot of appointments. And I was really lucky in the sense that I was allowed to go to these appointments as medical appointments. So they were treated as medical appointments. I didn't have to use my individual leave, which I'm really grateful for, because IVF, there's a lot to it. You have a lot of appointments, regular checkups. So yeah, I'm really lucky in the sense that the Med Centre signed that off. When I came back to work after having my children, I was supported really, really well. I was serving with the Yorkshire Regiment when they were still in Chester, and my previous unit before I left for maternity leave created a safe breastfeeding area, which now I'm a mum, I know how important that is, and the anxiety I know that a new mum has going back to work, you know, it really helps for that, knowing that there's a safe space, they can go and express for their children and know that they've got their own private area. Oh yeah. I can't remember what I said earlier. Transferable. I learned to drive in the army. Oh God, I don't know.